There's a $2 mineral that's been sitting in commercial engine oils for decades, quietly doing more work than most of the additives you've paid extra for. And almost nobody talks about where it actually comes from or what it can and can't do. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand your oil a lot better, and you'll also see exactly where the marketing stops and the chemistry starts. Here's the problem most car owners run into. Engines wear out, not overnight, but steadily. Cylinder walls get microscopic scratches, bearings lose their edge, and eventually you're looking at a repair bill in the thousands. The industry's answer is a rotating menu of engine treatment services, premium synthetic oil upgrades, and additive packages that get pitched to you every time you're in for service, usually priced somewhere between $150 and $300 a visit. Some of these genuinely help. A lot of them are marked up versions of a handful of active ingredients that cost almost nothing in their raw form. One of those ingredients is molybdenum disulfide, MOS2 for short. And unlike a lot of secret engine hacks floating around online, this one is real. It's been used in industry for a very long time. And it's sitting in the ingredient list of oils and greases you've probably already bought without noticing. The story actually starts further back than most people realize. Molybdenite ore, the mineral MOS2 comes from, looks a lot like graphite, and for centuries people genuinely confused the two. It wasn't until the late 1700s that a Swedish chemist properly identified molybdenum as its own distinct element, separate from lead and graphite, which is where the name comes from. It's Greek for lead-like. From there, industrial chemists slowly figured out that this soft, slippery mineral had lubrication properties that outperformed a lot of the oils and greases available at the time, especially under extreme heat and pressure. Through the 20th century, as machinery got faster and hotter, aircraft engines, heavy industrial equipment, military hardware, moly compounds found their way into extreme pressure lubricants, precisely because ordinary oil alone couldn't hold up in those conditions. By the time Japanese and other automakers were refining mass production engines in the post-war decades, moly-based additives were already a known quantity in serious lubrication engineering. So why does it actually work? It comes down to something engineers call boundary lubrication. Inside your engine, there's a zone at startup before oil pressure builds, or under heavy load when the oil film gets squeezed thin, where metal surfaces can end up making direct contact instead of gliding on a cushion of oil. That's where the majority of long-term wear actually happens. MOS2 is different from a normal oil additive because it isn't just a liquid trying to keep surfaces apart. It's a solid made up of flat, layered crystal sheets, only a couple of microns across. Picture stacks of playing cards that can slide past each other almost frictionlessly while staying anchored to the surface underneath. Under heat and pressure, those sheets bond onto the metal surface itself, rather than just sitting on top of it, filling in the microscopic peaks and valleys, and giving you a slicker surface exactly in the zone where regular oil struggles the most. Here's the honest picture on the industry side, and it's less dramatic than banned or suppressed, but it's still real. Raw MOS2 powder is a bulk industrial mineral. It's inexpensive, it isn't patented, and nobody owns exclusive rights to it. That's exactly the kind of ingredient that doesn't get a marketing campaign or a dealership sales pitch built around it. There's no premium to protect. What does get marketed heavily are branded products that use small amounts of moly blended into proprietary oil formulations, priced well above the cost of the raw ingredient inside them. That's not a hidden conspiracy. It's just how additive markets tend to work. Cheap bulk minerals don't get billboards. Branded blends do. In practice, that means MOS2 already shows up as an ingredient in plenty of commercial products. Certain synthetic oils, moly-fortified greases, assembly lubes used by engine builders, and additive packages aimed at reducing wear during break-in or under heavy load. Mechanics who work on high-mileage fleet vehicles, off-road equipment, and older engines have used moly-based products for exactly this reason for a long time. It's not some hidden Japanese-only secret. It's a known mainstream part of the lubrication world that just doesn't get much attention because moly additive doesn't make for exciting advertising copy. Now here's where I want to be careful, because this is the part where enthusiasm online tends to run ahead of good sense. You'll see DIY videos telling you to buy loose technical-grade MOS2 powder, stir it into a cup of oil, and pour the whole gritty mixture straight into your engine. I'd steer you away from that. Commercial moly additives use particles that are extremely finely milled and chemically treated to stay evenly suspended in oil. That engineering is exactly what prevents clumping, settling, and clogging inside your oil filter or oil galleys. A homemade slurry of raw industrial powder doesn't have any of that stabilization. And dumping unstabilized solid particles into a running engine risks doing the opposite of what you want. Added abrasive wear or a blocked filter instead of a protective coating. If you want the real benefit of this chemistry, the practical move is to look for a full synthetic oil or established additive product that lists molybdenum disulfide, or moly, as an active ingredient, and use it as part of your normal oil change interval, rather than as some once-and-done miracle treatment. It's a genuinely useful anti-wear technology with real decades of industrial track record behind it. It's just not a $2 miracle cure that turns any engine into a 500,000-mile machine, and no honest mechanic would promise you that. What's actually worth taking away here isn't a secret formula. It's a habit of mind. A lot of the banned and suppressed engine hacks online are built on a real kernel of chemistry wrapped in numbers nobody can verify. The useful move isn't to chase the next miracle additive. It's to understand what's actually in your oil, why it's there, and to be a little skeptical anytime a claim sounds too clean to be true. That's the difference between falling for the next viral engine myth and actually taking care of the car you drive every day. This has been Hidden Fix Lab. The science is usually more interesting than the myth anyway.